We are the communications partner of Sanofi, and thank you very, very much for being here today, coming to our event. And today we are going to be discussing a very important issue that a lot of people are starting to know about, and that is the Japanese encephalitis. Today, in the next hour or so, we will be talking about the nature of the disease, finding out the symptoms if unfortunately someone has already been infected, but most importantly of all, ways to prevent the disease in the first place. So today, I am not an expert obviously, but we have a panel of experts who will talk about how to prevent the disease and everything that you will need to know about Japanese encephalitis. And before that, I would like to welcome someone from Sanofi to open the program officially. Let's call on Ms. Bin Kabanayan, Sanofi Communications Officer.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for attending this media briefing. So as Pia mentioned, we will be discussing a very important disease this morning. It's Japanese encephalitis. So a little bit of throwback, if you may. We had the first briefing for Japanese encephalitis actually last February. So little did we know then that Japanese encephalitis will be in the front page and an important health issue in the recent months, no? So we are very fortunate actually to have a panel of experts with us this morning. I will introduce them to you briefly later. But you know, during these times, as always naman, people would look to media for the correct information, for the right information. So that's actually the main objective of today's event. We would like you to be more informed about Japanese encephalitis so that you can share it to your viewers, to your readers, and learn more about it. Paano ba siya nakukuha? Where do we get it? How can we prevent it? No? So I think the more important issue now is how can we prevent the disease so that it will not affect our loved ones, ourselves, and our families. Okay, so later on you will hear from the president of the Philippine Society for Microbiology and Infectious Disease. We have Dr. Marie Rose de los Reyes. And we also have in our panel the Vice President of the Philippine Pediatric Society, Dr. Sally Gatchalian. So to start off this learning session, I would like you to focus your attention to our screen, and we will play a short video about Japanese encephalitis. Thank you.
Just have some technical difficulty. Okay, right now we cannot figure out the. Allow me, I would like to call on Dr. Sally Gatchalian, again the Vice President of the Philippine Pediatric Society. She was also formerly the President of the Pediatric Infectious Disease Society of the Philippines, together with Dr. Marie Rose de los Reyes. She is currently the President of the Philippine Society for Microbiology and Infectious Diseases. So Doc Sally and Dr. Marie Rose, may I call you on stage for your presentation.
Good morning.
Morning, ma'am.
Our task, mine and Dr. De Los Reyes' task, is to provide you a guidance on the Japanese encephalitis vaccine because of the unfortunate situation, especially through social media, has made healthcare providers seek guidance on the use of the vaccine. We all know that Japanese encephalitis is really a significant public health threat. So, what is the Japanese? What is Japanese encephalitis? Japanese encephalitis is a mosquito vector-borne disease and is the leading cause of viral encephalitis and the leading cause of childhood neurologic infection and disability in Asia. So it is caused by your Japanese encephalitis virus that is spread or transmitted by an infected mosquito called the Culex mosquito. This Culex mosquito actually breeds in water pools or flooded rice fields. So usually yung mga low-lying floodwaters, even grasses, but they have also been found in wells, in pools, and in ditches. The reservoir of the virus is the domestic pigs and aquatic birds. So the virus will actually multiply in these animals to reach high levels. And it is characterized by inflammation of the brain. Unfortunately, there is no specific treatment for Japanese encephalitis. And the fatality or deaths associated with this infection is as high as 30%. Amongst those 30 to 50% who will actually survive will suffer from neurologic sequelae or from permanent disabilities, learning difficulties, they can have paralysis, etc. Now, who are at risk for Japanese encephalitis? Based on the World Health Organization estimates, 68,000 cases occur annually, with 3 billion people living in 24 Southeast Asian regions and Western Pacific regions at risk for Japanese encephalitis. And like we said, it's predominantly found in rural and agricultural areas. Based on a local study conducted by Lopez et al., the virus is actually found and present in all regions of the Philippines. And based on this study as well, it affects mainly or mostly, majority of the cases are in children less than 15 years of age. So, based on the Department of Health Epidemiology Bureau, which they have published and stated, there are about 133 patients who were diagnosed between January 1 to August 26 of this year. And 53 cases were actually recorded in Central Luzon, mainly in Pampanga. Majority of the reports were in Pampanga of the 53 cases in Central Luzon. And there were about 9 deaths recorded. And of these 9 deaths, 4 or 5 were in Pampanga as well. Sorry. Okay. So how do we prevent Japanese encephalitis? Just like any other vector-borne disease, we should avoid mosquito bites, so individual protection, use of bed nets, mosquito nets, repellents, proper clothing, and reduce the exposure. In temperate countries, they have established the peak season during the months which start sometime in April or May and end sometime in September to October. However, in tropical countries like the Philippines, the peak season has not actually been established. So we don't really know when the peak season is. What we know is that the disease is actually endemic in the Philippines, meaning to say it occurs all year round. And second, of course, very important would be your vector control measures. Because remember, this is a vector-borne disease, so very important vector control. And third is vaccination. Elimination of clinical disease in humans is possible through vaccination. In fact, the integration of JE vaccination in the immunization program of Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and Thailand have led to the near elimination of this disease in their countries. Okay. Now, the World Health Organization has also come up with recommendations, and this was sometime in February 2015. WHO recognizes as well that JE is a significant public health threat, so that the recommendation is to integrate Japanese encephalitis into the national immunization programs in areas where Japanese encephalitis is recognized as a public health priority. Now, even if the numbers are low compared to other diseases like dengue, vaccination should be considered where there is a suitable environment for JEV transmission. And this is the case in the Philippines. Like we said, we've seen it all over the country from north to south. And that high vaccination coverage should be achieved and sustained in populations at risk. So what is the impact of vaccination? JE, or Japanese encephalitis, is a zoonotic disease. That means it exists in animals and therefore can never be eradicated. There is little evidence to support effectiveness in disease reduction from interventions other than vaccination of humans. And JE in humans can be greatly reduced despite ongoing transmission in animals. In fact, this human vaccination provides the best evidence for control in humans. And JE vaccination can in fact be cost effective as well. So who then should we vaccinate, especially in these periods where there is a presumed or seemed scarcity of the vaccine? Now, several societies in the Philippines have actually come up with recommendations, and this is of course in line with the World Health Organization's recommendations. For example, the Philippine Pediatric Society, together with the Pediatric Infectious Disease Society of the Philippines and the Philippine Foundation for Vaccination, have made recommendations in the childhood immunization program. And of course, the Philippine Society for Microbiology and Infectious Disease have also come up with recommendations for the adult population. So this is a summary of the recommendations of the Philippine Pediatric Society and the Pediatric Infectious Disease Society of the Philippines. You can actually access these through the website of the PPS and of the PIDSP. And we're hoping that this be published in a reputable journal. 1, that JE is a reportable disease and that surveillance must be sustained for JE disease in the Philippines. Second, healthcare providers and public health authorities of information. We should be able to actively communicate relevant, evidence-based data to the public and to interpret this to the public in order to avoid undue panic and to provide the most appropriate measures to take. Third, prevention methods such as vector control, personal protective measures, and other measures may actually be used, but in JE vaccination, which is the only method proven to be highly effective for prevention. And lastly, JE vaccination continues to be recommended for children more than 9 months of age. And in cases of scarce supply, we recommend that priority be given to those most at risk, that is, children less than 15 years of age and those living in high-risk areas. So this is the childhood immunization schedule recommended by the Philippine Pediatric Society, the Pediatric Infectious Disease Society of the Philippines, and the Philippine Foundation for Vaccination. we are recommending in the childhood immunization schedule JE vaccination from infants as young as 9 months and older. The recommendation is to give 2 doses for those less than 18 years, up to 17 years of age. First dose is given, and the second dose is given 12 months to 24 months or 1 to 2 years after the first dose. And for those older than 18 years, the recommendation is just 1 dose of the vaccine. We have started the recommendation for JE vaccination since 2016. Dr. De Los Reyes will discuss the recommendations for JE for adults.
Good morning. Good morning. Microbiology and Infectious Diseases, which is an organization of adult infectious disease specialists, recently released our guidance on GE vaccination that is based on scientific evidence for the information of the public. So this has not been released in media, but we have circulated this to our network of doctors, including the Philippine College of Physicians and the Philippine Medical Association. So this is a 2-page statement, but I have summarized it here in 3 bullets. So we say that the Japanese encephalitis is a vaccine preventable disease, and vaccination, as has been shown in many studies, is the most effective strategy to prevent and control JE. However, WHO recommends that vaccination should be considered where there is suitable environment for Japanese encephalitis virus transmission, even if the numbers are low. So in the Philippines, we have the vector, the Culex mosquitoes, and we have the environment because there is close proximity of individuals to pigs, which are the reservoir of the virus. And so there is a suitable environment that vaccination is indicated. And as have been mentioned by Dr. Agachalian, JE vaccine is recommended for individuals 9 months and older. So in children, they gave it for 2 doses, while in adults, the dose is a single primary dose. So there is no booster needed for adults. Okay. So to summarize the key messages from this morning's presentation, we say that Japanese encephalitis is endemic in the Philippines, so with a year-round transmission. It is circulating in all regions in the country, in both rural and urban areas. And the most effective immunization strategy, particularly in areas where resources is scarce, is to prioritize the giving of the vaccine. Although we say that the vaccine can be given to all ages from 9 months to adults. So vaccinating primary target population is very effective, and the target population that we see are in less than 50 years of age. So this is where majority of the cases of Japanese encephalitis occur. And of course, it should be integrated into the childhood immunization schedule. And the Department of Health is preparing for its integration, I think, in the National Immunization Program next year. Okay, so in addition to vaccination, even if it is the most effective strategy, it should always be part of a comprehensive prevention and control strategy that should include vector control, surveillance and clinical management. So surveillance is a very important component of the control program, and the Department of Health, together with the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine, for which I belong, are constantly monitoring JE cases all over the country. And right now, there are 9 sentinel sites that are located in different regions of the Philippines. So I think that's my last slide, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gatchalian and Dr. De La Rosa. I'm sorry, let us say it. I'm super sorry. In the recent weeks, I think we all saw, or hopefully we saw some advisories that came out concerning the disease and also the available prevention and vaccination. So to tell us more in detail, the health advisories recently released, I would like to call on Jervin Papeleras. He is the country regulatory head for Sanofi.
Good morning, everyone. So I'd just like to share some information regarding the health advisories that were released by Sanofi Pasteur and FDA. So last September 9, Sanofi Pasteur, in close coordination with the Philippine Food and Drug Administration of the Philippines, released a health advisory to the general public on the matter of the Japanese encephalitis vaccine. So Sanofi Pasteur is exerting all their efforts to meet this unexpected increase in demand in line with its purpose of ensuring that the public is provided protection against this deadly disease. Also, like to highlight that Sanofi Pasteur is the duly licensed manufacturer of the only duly registered JV vaccine in the Philippines. Zurich Pharma Corporation is the registered distributor of Sanofi Pasteur, authorized to distribute and sell the JV vaccine. Sanofi Pasteur is also committed to continuing its full cooperation with the FDA to report its illegal activities of selling vaccines in websites and in social media. So those who are interested to be vaccinated against JE are advised to visit their doctors and inquire about vaccination. Earlier that week, the FDA also released their advisory to warn the public against accessing Japanese encephalitis vaccine and other vaccines from online sellers and other unauthorized distributors and retailers. So, in view of these reports, the FDA warns the public against availing vaccines from online sellers and other unauthorized distributors or retailers. Consumers availing from these unauthorized distributors or retailers are at risk of buying vaccines of poor quality, compromised by non-compliance to the required standards of the FDA, or worse, at risk of buying counterfeit products. So FDA is reminding the public that only establishments that have appropriate license to operate are allowed to distribute and sell vaccines, and as with all other prescription products. So if you have further questions or clarifications, you may call FDA at their trunk line at 02809-5596, or you may send them an email at info@fda.gov.ph or visit their website at fda.gov.ph.
Alright, so at this point, the presentations and spiels are over, and we are allotting this time for everybody to air their questions. Especially, we have some parents here, and I know that this is a scary issue for a lot of you. So may I call again Dr. Gatchalian and Dr. De Los Reyes to